So, to start off this deep dive, I want you to imagine that you run an AI scan on your company's flagship software product.
Right.
It's just a routine check, something you do to keep the system healthy. But within minutes of hitting start, the dashboard just lights up and spits out a staggering number, like 10,000 possible bugs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 10,000, just sitting there on your screen, flashing red at you.
I mean, for anyone in software operations, that number induces immediate, just visceral panic.
Oh, absolutely.
Your mind instantly jumps to the workload, right?
Right.
But the non-obvious reality of that exact moment is what we really need to dig into today based on our sources, because those are not necessarily 10,000 confirmed real-world defects.
Right.
And crucially, they do not automatically create 10,000 immediate obligations for your team to just, drop everything and fix them today.
Which feels completely counterintuitive to how we usually work. I mean, the traditional mindset is you see a bug, you fix a bug. If it's on the screen, it's your problem. But this massive influx brings up a really complex, unresolved question for you to ponder, which is, if an AI system generates a finding out of thin air, at what exact point can we actually say that the organization, officially knows about it?
Exactly. And to answer that, we have to radically update our mental model of what AI is actually doing in these environments.
Okay.
The core issue isn't the raw volume of these findings, even though, that's what causes the initial heart attack.
Sure.
The real issue is the invisible boundary that a finding crosses. We are talking about the precise moment a finding morphs from something that merely exists in the server log somewhere into something the organization has officially recognized and, well, must decide how to handle.
So it's kind of a journey. We need to figure out how organizations are actually surviving this flood of data. And to do that, we're going to trace the life cycle of an AI finding today. We'll explore four main things. First, where that boundary of recognition actually lies. Second, how to handle the massive decision queue that piles up. Third, what happens to the trail of responsibility when things get backlogged.
Right.
And finally, the specific conditions you need to safely defer work without, just abandoning it completely.
And as we navigate this transition into the actual operations, I want to set a really clear expectation for you.
Okay, what's that?
The overarching narrative out there is that AI just creates a mountain of new responsibility. But the reality is far more nuanced. AI is not necessarily giving you more work. It's forcing you to make concrete decisions about that work much, much earlier than you ever used to.
Let's start with that first major hurdle, moving from this terrifying premise of 10,000 bugs to understanding exactly when those bugs become your organization's actual problem.
Right.
Because an AI finding doesn't just instantly materialize as a corporate crisis, right? It goes through several distinct contact states.
Yeah, exactly.
Think of it as a progression. First, a candidate is generated by the AI model. Then, it's stored somewhere in a system database. Next, it might be viewed by an individual developer scrolling through a dashboard.
Yep.
After that, it gets formally reported to a manager or compliance team. Then, it's officially admitted into the organization's verification process, and only finally is it confirmed as an actual verified problem.
And I think it's crucial to realize that each of those transitions represents a completely different level of organizational commitment.
Right, which introduces our first central concept, the recognition boundary.
Okay.
In plain English, the recognition boundary is the exact point at which an AI output stops being something that merely exists in the background noise of a system and becomes something the organization has actively chosen or is legally required to handle.
Yeah.
But I have to push back here because I think a lot of people listening might share this confusion.
Go for it.
If the AI finds a vulnerability, and that vulnerability is literally sitting on our company's servers, in a database that we own and pay for, aren't we inherently liable?
That's the trap.
Right. Doesn't just possessing that data mean the organization knows about it? Like if there's a data breach, a lawyer is going to point straight at that log.
It's a very common trap to fall into, but we have to clearly distinguish between individual awareness and organizational recognition.
Okay, how so?
Let's say a single developer sees a dashboard alert flash red while they're drinking their morning coffee. That is individual awareness.
Right.
But a finding being formally logged in an official compliance audit report, that is organizational recognition. They carry completely different weights in the real world.
But surely the law doesn't care about the difference between a developer's dashboard and a compliance report if the bug is, real.
Well, actually, it often does, because legal, contractual, and audit contexts place this boundary in completely different spots. There is no universal legal rule that dictates Like AI generation equals immediate corporate liability.
No, interesting.
Yeah. For example, if you're a software vendor, your specific contract with a client might stipulate that you are only responsible for addressing bugs once they enter your formal verification process.
Gotcha.
Or an industry audit standard might state that you're only responsible for a vulnerability the moment it's formally reported through a specific security channel.
Yeah.
The boundaries shift dynamically.
So basically, the exact time an AI generates a problem and the time your responsibility to fix it becomes concrete are just not the same thing.
Precisely. But even when we accept that these milestones are separate, we still have to deal with the physical reality of operations.
Right.
Knowing when a finding crosses the boundary doesn't change the fact that the AI doesn't stop scanning. We have to address the sheer unyielding speed at which the system is pushing items across that line.
And the speed is staggering. To visualize this, let's toss out that old tech cliche of drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, please.
A fire hose just describes volume. What's happening here is much more mechanical. Think of it like a high-speed automated sorting facility.
Yeah.
The AI is a machine dumping thousands of unverified, unmarked packages onto a single human inspector's desk. The machine generating the packages costs almost nothing to run.
Right.
But that human inspector, they can't just toss the packages onto a truck. They have to carefully open every single box, determine if it contains a bomb or just packing peanuts, figure out which department it belongs to, and document the entire process before they can even look at the next box.
That friction at the human inspector's desk, what we can call the grounding surface, is where the real operational crisis happens.
Yeah.
Because the AI model itself is humming along perfectly fine. The breakdown occurs at the exact point where the AI's probabilistic output slams into human operational limits.
Right, because detecting a candidate is incredibly cheap.
Exactly. But verifying and closing one is exhaustingly expensive.
Walk us through that expense. Like, what does it actually take to close just one of those 10,000 packages the AI generated?
Oh, it's a lot. To close a single candidate, a human first has to verify it's a real issue and not a hallucination. Then they have to conduct an impact analysis. Like, if we change this specific line of legacy code to fix this AI bug, will we accidentally break the payment gateway?
Which happens all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
Then they have to run regression testing. They have to sit in meetings to prioritize this fix against all the other feature work the company actually wants to do. They need stakeholder agreement. And finally, they have to meticulously document the resolution.
It's just a totally asymmetric battle. The speed of generation completely outpaces the speed of closure.
It is. Which brings up a critical caveat about teams feeling overwhelmed. A high number of AI candidates does not automatically mean the organization is saturated.
Wait, really?
Yeah, saturation is a highly conditional state. It only emerges when the volume of findings that you've actively admitted into your verification scope continually exceeds your human capacity to decide and close them.
Okay, I see.
Like, if the AI detects 10,000 bugs, but your operational protocol explicitly states you will only verify the 50 bugs that touch customer financial data, you aren't saturated. You've actively managed the scope.
I see. So AI doesn't just hand you a convenient to-do list. It actually creates a massive decision queue demanding to know where you'll place these findings in time.
Exactly.
Which naturally leads to the bottleneck. Because if you physically and temporally cannot fix everything in that queue today, these findings start crashing into your organization's existing reality.
Yes.
Let's look at a concrete, everyday operational example. Imagine a mid-level engineering manager. They are already dealing with 10 years of tangled legacy code, tight quarterly budgets, and rigid compliance checklists.
A very familiar scenario.
Right. And suddenly, the AI drops 500 potential security vulnerabilities right onto their plate.
And in that moment, that manager becomes what we call a convergence node.
They're the choke point. All these probabilistic rapid-fire guesses from the AI pile up on this one specific role, colliding with all the historical, unwritten cultural rules of the company.
Yeah.
It's just paralyzing for the person sitting in that chair.
It is entirely paralyzing. And it's precisely here where we have to separate two very distinct concepts, deferring execution versus abandoning responsibility.
Okay, break that down.
Well, that manager at the convergence node is going to have to defer things. It is a mathematical necessity. They cannot do the work of 100 people.
Right.
But scheduling a bug for investigation next quarter is entirely different from throwing your hands up and saying, well, we're never fixing this. It's not our problem.
Though I imagine the temptation to just clear the dashboard is overwhelming. When you have 500 red alerts flashing at you and a product launch on Friday,
Yeah.
the human instinct is to just hit select all and, mark as out of
Mm.
scope.
Oh, for sure. But that instinct leads directly into the closure phase trap, which is incredibly dangerous.
How so?
This happens when teams are so burnt out by the convergence node that untreated items are just swept under the rug to get the dashboard back to green.
Mm-hmm.
But those hidden items don't vanish. They quietly mutate in the background.
Oh.
Yeah, a minor memory leak marked as ignore today
Mhm.
returns 6 months later as a catastrophic Friday night server outage or massive customer churn.
So how do you manage that massive backlog without just hiding it in the digital couch cushions?
You have to fundamentally rethink what responsibility means. Responsibility in this context isn't about permanently fixing blame to one person who must solve the problem immediately.
Okay.
It is about preserving a responsibility trajectory. Think of it as an unbroken, trackable historical trail. It's a record showing exactly who transferred the risk, the specific rationale for why they transferred it, and when.
I like that.
It's an organization saying, we see this vulnerability, we acknowledge it crosses our recognition boundary, but because of our upcoming server migration, we are formally transferring the responsibility to investigate it to Q3.
So true responsibility isn't fixing everything right now. It's maintaining a clear, unbroken trail of how your organization handles what it chooses not to fix today.
Exactly. But I want to pause here and just emphasize the trail only holds up if the deferral itself is structurally sound. You can't just throw tasks into a nebulous later pile and expect them to magically resolve themselves.
Which brings us to a major operational clash that undermines this whole process. I think of it as an OS compatibility error.
Oh, good analogy.
Yeah. Picture trying to plug a modern, highly sensitive, variable dimmer switch, one that slides smoothly from 0 to 100% into a really old-school binary on-off electrical outlet.
Yeah, that won't work.
It's physically impossible. The hardware speaks completely different languages.
And that is a perfect representation of what happens when AI meets traditional business governance. AI operates entirely on probabilities.
Right.
It acts like that dimmer switch saying, I am 85% certain this anomaly is a performance issue, or, I'm 40% sure this is a security flaw.
But traditional business software, like your standard Jira ticketing system or your compliance dashboard, is the binary outlet. It only understands on or off, bug or not a bug, open or closed.
Exactly. Approved or rejected. And forcing those probabilistic AI outputs into binary business systems creates massive operational damage.
Like what kind of damage?
Well, you get two terrible outcomes. Either you overprocess everything, treating every 40% probability as a confirmed 5-alarm fire that demands immediate engineering time.
Which burns the team out.
Right. Or you trigger mass rejection, where the system simply discards anything that isn't 100% certain as irrelevant noise. You completely lose the nuanced value the AI was supposed to provide in the first place.
So we need an adapter. We need to build an intermediate state in our workflows that can hold on to that uncertainty without forcing an immediate binary choice.
Precisely. Organizations need a holding pattern for acknowledged but unverified findings. And to keep that holding pattern from turning into a black hole where tasks go to die, we use a framework called return conditions.
Okay, what are return conditions?
If you defer an item into this intermediate state, you must attach specific criteria to it. A proper return condition requires 4 elements: a clear reason for deferral, a designated decision maker who owns it, a current risk assessment, and a specific trigger to revisit it.
Okay, wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. If a team is already so overwhelmed at the convergence node that they have to defer the bug in the first place, how does making them fill out 4 detailed return conditions help? Aren't we just burying a burnt-out team in more administrative paperwork?
It sounds like more work up front, I grant you that.
Yeah.
But let's look at the failure state of skipping it.
Okay.
Imagine you defer a potential database vulnerability because, quote, we'll look at it later. No assigned owner, no specific trigger.
Right.
6 months go by, and the engineer who clicked defer leaves the company. A year later, the company scales up, the database load triples, and that minor vulnerability quietly turns into a massive data breach. The finding just expired in a database because there was no mechanism to wake it up.
That makes total sense.
A return condition is the alarm clock. You don't just say later. You say, we will reevaluate this bug when our daily active users hit 100,000 plus. Or we will revisit this security vulnerability the moment we migrate to the new server architecture.
Right.
Without a specific, measurable return condition, deferral is just a polite corporate word for abandonment.
It's like tying a string to the deferred task. You can walk away, but when the environment changes, the string pulls you back. So basically, placing work in the future is perfectly fine as long as you build a reliable path to travel back to it.
Yes, beautifully said. And when you synthesize all of these dynamics, the recognition boundary, the
Wow.
decision queue, the responsibility trajectory, and return conditions, a very different picture of the AI revolution emerges.
Yeah.
AI is not actually accelerating the future. It isn't magically making tomorrow happen today. What it is doing is taking future decision, demands the subtle creeping defects we normally wouldn't have discovered until a customer called screaming or a system crashed over a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
And it is pulling all of them into our present laps.
We're suddenly seeing all the tiny cracks in the foundation before the house is even fully built.
Yes, and because of that, the new core organizational capability is going to be how gracefully a company can decompose these known but untreated findings into clear paths. Can you look at an AI finding and instantly route it? Can you fix it now, defer it with strict return conditions, formally accept the risk, or reject it with documented evidence? Mastering that flow of decisions is what will separate the companies that thrive with AI from the ones that drown in it.
It's an entirely new muscle to flex.
Absolutely.
Well, we've spent this deep dive exploring how massive software organizations handle AI dropping thousands of probabilistic guesses into their laps. But I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over about your own daily life.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Because this dynamic isn't confined to corporate software development anymore. As AI agents begin integrating deeply into our personal workflows, scanning your private emails, monitoring your daily calendar, analyzing your real-time health metrics, tracking your sleep data, they're going to start surfacing thousands of personal defects and micro inefficiencies.
Yeah, that's true.
Your personal AI might notify you, hey, you have a 70% chance of burnout next week based on your meeting density. Or, I've detected 50 micro stressors in your email communication style over the last month. That sounds exhausting.
Right. So the question is, will you have a personal recognition boundary? Or will you let every single probabilistic guess from an AI turn into an immediate, overwhelming obligation for nonstop self-optimization? Because just like the software company staring at a dashboard of unverified alerts just because the AI found it doesn't mean you have to fix it today.